a quick review of borrowed chords. So we know that in major there are basically 7 chords. The 1, the 4, the 5, which are major chords. The 2, the 3, and the 6, which are minor chords. And the 7, which is a diminished chord. And they can all have sevenths added to them as well. So the major chords have major sevenths except for the dominant, which has a minor seventh. And then the minor chords all have minor sevenths, and so does the diminished chord, so it becomes a half diminished. So those are the only chords you really have to work with when you're in major. So composers instead would borrow from the minor. They would take a chord that's normally in the minor, a parallel minor. So the same 4 chord functioned the same way, but use the minor version to add color. So they came up with basically 5 chords. The 2 chord, which is minor in major, when you borrow from the minor, you flat the top note, makes a diminished chord, gives a lot of power. And if you add the 7th to it, then you get a half diminished chord instead of a minor with a minor 7th. Very powerful chord. 2 becomes quite a powerful progression. The 4 chord, which in my major key is a major chord, you can borrow the minor from it. You get F minor. And the 7 chord, which is usually a half diminished when you have it as a 7-7, in minor it's a full diminished chord. It gives you a lot more flexibility. So a lot of times they flat that 7th and make it a full diminished 7th. And those are all well, they all function exactly the same way as their original chord function. The weird one is the 6th chord. If you flat the root, you also have to flat the 5th, and you end up with a major chord. We call it a flat 6th chord because the root went down. It's not a minor version of 6. You actually flatted the root. And that's really a common chord too. So key of C major would be an A flat major chord instead of an A minor chord. That chord is going to go to the dominant. It's going to have a kind of a weird resolution because the root's going to go down, and that 5th that wants to go down is going to pop up by a 3rd. It's a little bit weird. But those are your borrowed chords. And that's just a quick review. The book has a lot of detail in it, and you can contact me if you need more. We want to review that before we go on to the augmented 6 chords. We also added one more chord, and it appears more in minor than in major, but it's not that rare. It's the Neapolitan chord. And the Neapolitan chord, you start with a 2 chord, and then you make it a flat 2, so you flat the root. In major, you have to flat the 5th too. You end up with a major chord, and we usually invert it, first inversion. So it's a Neapolitan 6 chord. So like in key of C, it would be an F, A flat, and D flat major, and that will also go to a 5 chord. So we've got our borrowed chords and our Neapolitan chord, and that's where we're starting. But on the next video, we're going to plunge into the augmented 6 chords, and this is a review to get you ready for that. I'll see you soon.